Hey, hey, good morning, Symmetry Nation. Good morning. This is Eric Gurr, agency owner. We're going to give a couple of seconds for everybody to get in, and then we'll get going this morning. So welcome. It's actually now afternoon. So for some of you, it is morning, I'm sure. Give a couple of seconds to come in. What a absolutely gorgeous day. I'm down in Orlando, Florida. It is 72 degrees and sunny, and it is a beautiful afternoon. Let the people start rolling in. Just a quick introduction for myself. My name is Eric Gurr. I'm agency owner. I am direct to the wonderful and incredible Mr. Jerry Cantrell, who's been an absolutely fantastic mentor for me and really helped get me to where I am really happy with this business, really comfortable in what I do because the guy just has a lot of words of wisdom. I am part of the Marshall Whalen or Mike Casey Marshall Whalen hierarchy. So and absolutely honored to be here. Fantastic opportunity. I actually about a week or so ago, Marshall Whalen texted me and asked me to join in the call. And I texted him back and said, damn it, man, it's my birthday. And he texted me back and said, "Sounds like a great title for the Monday call." And I said, "No, I don't think we're going to do it that way." These Monday calls have a lot of really special places in my heart because they've really marked some really incredible differences for me. I always tell the story to my team that I was going through an exceptionally, right after I started, I went through an exceptional drought of, think about it, it's in hard times getting sold. And it was a Monday morning meeting that I was listening to. And I think I went 0-9 before the Monday meeting, and I was on my way to an appointment to go sit in home with somebody. And I turned on the Monday call. And this is probably the first time I ever really plugged into the business to listen into the business. And I plugged into the business. And when I did, I was able to mute this. Sorry, everybody. I was able to actually be able to plug in and absorb what I was listening to. So, and it made such a big difference for me because it was get back to the basics. It was really ingrained into me that I needed to get back to where I was and what I was doing. So I was really inspired by what I heard, and I went from 0-9 to 9-0 in my next set of sales. And so that's why Monday calls are so inspiring to me. Today, I wanted to focus on acting on your conviction, being convicted. And how is that different than just a belief or some other function of that? Well, acting on your convictions really is a deeper meaning to that. So for me, being convicted of something means that you are bought in, you're sold, you're in this. It's 100% the way you go on something. A little background, starting in, so I've been with the company just at 3 years now. When I got started, I was working for a Fortune 500 company, and I took this on as an opportunity to do part-time just to see whether I could get into it, and really just love the nature of what the company does and how they have a heart for protecting people and working with people. So for me, it was really an incredible opportunity. And so I left a $150,000 a year job, salary job, 401k matching, benefits that you couldn't even imagine. And I was able to do things that, come to a company that has a lot of heart, has a lot of inspiration to it. So it was fantastic to be able to do that. Now, I will tell you right now that it was hard coming over because I left a salary job and came over to a position that was 100% commission. And for me, that was very tough. It was tough for Candace, my wife, who has been just inspirational in helping me get going in business. So when I started thinking and adding up the Monday call and talking about, the inspirations of coming over here and the business and what we're doing, it really came down to me acting on your convictions, because what I saw in this company just inspired me. And, we've had some terrific Monday calls lately. I mean, Melissa Weigel and her team last week, Omar Diaz doing his presentation a couple of weeks ago. That was fantastic stuff. And that really helps us get back to the basics. For me, though, I had the best January I've ever had. I placed 33,000 in the month of January. I went to Cabo with the leadership team for Marshall's group. We had a fantastic trip to Cabo, very, very inspirational. And I came back and decided it's time for me to get back to the basics. And so we've been focusing as a team in our team huddles on getting back to the basics, which leads me right back to the Monday call 3 years ago now that really helped me boil down and get back into the fight here. Joining me today, I have Lynn Ostergard, who is one of my agents on my team, and Kenny Luyo. Both of them are going to have a little bit of a message. We're going to be talking about acting on your convictions, because that's really what we're talking about here. Those convictions, like I said, run so much deeper than just belief or why or anything. When you're convicted of something, that means that you are bound and determined. You're in it. This is the fight. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do business. This is who you're going to be as a committed and convicted person in what you're doing. And each one of them, both of them, are going to bring a little bit different aspect of that. And that's why I asked them to join us on our call today. So how does this associate with sales training? Well, sales training is based off a conviction. It's based off of your beliefs, based off of what you think is right. One of the strongest forces I have when I go into a home or when I'm doing a Zoom with someone is I focus on the way I relate to people. Emotion sells, recurring their emotion, finding the emotions that they had during that process when they were filling out that form, things like that. That makes a huge difference. And for me to sit down with a client, now I personally have a Forester's policy. I have a Mutual of Omaha policy, and I have a national life policy. I have all those things. My father-in-law has a national life policy that I wrote him when I first started this company. So when I sit down with families and I say, you know what, this Forester's policy is fantastic for protecting you, your family, and your kids. As a matter of fact, I have a policy with Forester's myself. I have a $400,000 policy with them for my family. I'm a self-employed person. It's really important for me to have the care and the responsibility that they give, or what I'm able to take from that policy. So how much more conviction can I pass on to somebody sitting down with a family and saying, hey, you know what? I've got this policy too. This is something I do for my family. I've got 25 different companies or 40 different companies, however you want to state that. But this company is somebody I believe in and somebody I have my family protected with. And it's so much more powerful when you sit there. So, I will ask each one of you on this panel, or everybody listening to this call today, how many of you are really have taken that step? Or, are you in the protect your protector? Did you get your Americo policy? Did you get your Forester's policy with the company? Have you taken out anything? Have you written something for your family and friends? That conviction that you have of, oh my gosh, this policy is the best thing that I could give my family, or they want to know you're personally invested in this, and what you're doing is that important. So absolutely 100% so important to sit down with them and make mention of that, and to be present for all of that. So be there, be part of that conversation, and bring that into it. So when you're sitting with the clients, your conviction comes through to them. When you're writing an application, they know that you are 100% and fully involved in that. And so that's when, for me, that in-home personal conviction really makes a difference. So I'm acting on my convictions because I own these policies myself. I'm protecting these families. I'm making sure that they're cared for. Now, a little bit different take on that is your conviction with Symmetry, and acting on your convictions with Symmetry. So I've asked Lynn Ostergard to join us, and Lynn is going to talk a little bit about being convicted. She's going to take a different source. This is going to be talking about the system and talking about Symmetry itself. A little bit on Lynn. So Lynn, say hello to everybody. Now, Lynn, you joined the company kicking and screaming, literally like you were going to help out a friend who was coming into the business and join with him. And tell us a little bit about that, please.
I did join kicking and screaming. So something, I don't even think you know this, Eric, but my dad sold life insurance when I was growing up, and he did great, and then until he didn't. And so I was always like, I don't want any part of that. But I have to just thank you so much for this opportunity, as well as Symmetry, because what an amazing place. When you think about like the tools that we have access to, the summit, convention, the SoundClouds, the training calls, it's just amazing. It's like you almost can't fail. And I'm going to speak about each one individually. So
let me give a little preface here. So not only did you come in kicking and screaming, but you had a really tough time coming in. I remember having a conversation with you in February of last year, and you said that conversation, you're like, I just wish I could place $2,000 for the month. Your whole goal was 2,000 AP for the month. At the beginning of this month, the first week in March, you placed $27,000 the first week in March. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What a tremendous difference. Go ahead and tell us a little about your convictions. I mean, tell us why acting on the convictions made a difference for you.
Well, so it's completely plugging into the system, and it's completely just getting involved in doing every part of this business and continuing. You know, every time I have a bad call, it's like, okay, Lynn, what could you have done better on that call? What does Symmetry teach us is the right way to do it? Get on SoundCloud, listen to what some of the people, you know, are some of the people who are really doing really well. What are they doing? How are they handling those objections? How are they handling everything? Is it all right if I digress into convention last year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, talk about, I mean, this is your conviction. Tell me about, we, you know, when we set up for this interview, I specifically said, tell me what acting on your conviction feels like to you, and talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So it really means getting up every morning, putting your clothes on and going to work. You know, we don't, you know, if we work a 9-to-5 job, we go to work every day. Sometimes though here it's like, oh, I can go eat bonbons on the couch or watch soap operas or whatever, but it is actually getting in and doing the job. So I sold 132,000 AP last year. And I'm pretty proud of that. But the part that I'm most proud of is I sold up until Marshall's convention in August. I sold 60,000, and then for the last 4 months, I sold another 72,000. And then I'm coming into this year, and I've already put in almost 50,000 in AP, and it's just I just work every day to use the system and get better every day, and just pay attention to how I can be doing it better.
Absolutely. So when I asked you to talk about acting on your conviction, you really took it as this system is just here for you, and you really are empowering yourself with that, correct?
Absolutely.
That's
It
awesome.
is, you know, we are so lucky. You know, we're not just, you know, given this opportunity and then said, here, go do it. We have all the tools to figure out how to do it and how to keep improving. And so many people have so generously shared what they did to build their businesses and continue to do that.
Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. So that's when you and I spoke about it a little bit, and we talked about the differences, and we talked about conviction, and you talked about the system and how it's plugged in. It really has changed your life. And one other aspect of that, Lynn, is you're recruiting. You have a team of people. You have people that you are working with. Tell me, how do you convey conviction to them? What is it? How do you push that into what they do so that they're acting in the same manner and they're inspiring the agents that are the clients they're working with?
So, you know, I take my lead from you, Eric. I mean, it's like lead from the front. If I'm not doing this business, how can I ever tell anybody else to do it? If I'm not plugged into the system, how can I ever convince anyone else that they need to be plugging in? And the only way to not win in this company is if you quit, and either full on quit or just quit on yourself or quit on working the system. Did that answer your question?
No, absolutely. That's perfect. That's perfect. So I will say this, it's one of those things where you just see somebody that, you know, it's so inspiring to see somebody who started out not wanting to be here, not really just trying to be here to help somebody, and then all of a sudden you just see them flower and everything like that. For me, that conviction is that just emboldens me for what I do as an agency owner, to see a team grow and see a team member become so much more and flower into something. And conviction, and after convention, you just turned into so much more. It was so awesome, Lynn, and I'm so glad and so proud to see what you've come out now. And thank you for that. I'll bring you back on just a second now. So right now, I actually want to talk to Kenny Luyo. So a little introduction for Kenny. Kenny started with us in December. Am I right, Kenny? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So it started with Symmetry in December. You proceeded to have Christmas. You got married. You moved households. Both of you combined your households, correct?
Correct.
And then you had a tornado hit both of your houses in Kansas, correct? When the tornadoes hit in January,
The
right?
windstorms, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Windstorms, okay. And you're merging families and everything else. And you just got your slingshot promotion, your first slingshot promotion. And you are on track. You've already got 3 recruits. You've got 1 who just is already licensed and starting today. You've got 1 who's about to complete Exam FX and 1 more who signed up for Exam FX just recently. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right, yes.
All right. Well, I don't think I can really talk about anybody more convicted than that. I mean, oh my gosh, you're talking about blowing it out and getting started. So slingshots, recruiting, every recruit's coming in. Tell us a little bit about it, Kenny. What is that? Tell us about your convictions. So.
Sure. Well, to be completely honest, a lot of my acting with conviction starts with my story and my why, with why I got into this. For the last 15 years, I've been a skilled electrician, and I just, between some wrist issues and other aspects of my life where I just wanted to have more of an impact. I started a nonprofit with some friends. There was 9 of us for teenagers in the foster care system. And that was a huge thing that we did. And we had a 4-day camp that we just gotten done. And one of our leaders lost her life in a horse accident. And it was blindsiding to everybody. And I got to personally see and feel the effects and the blessing of her policies that she had in place. To watch her husband, one of my good friends, go from worrying about how he was going to maintain the house to knowing that everything was going to be okay. He got to be there and make those decisions for his wife for those final days, for those final things that needed to be planned, and be there for his 13-year-old son. And I tell people, when I meet with people, I tell them why I'm passionate about this, why I want them to know their options, because I personally saw and felt the blessing that it could be if the right policies are in place. And you can't put a price on that, not at all. And one thing that I tell everybody, I'm a life insurance specialist, and I have 4 different policies on myself, because you get them through different seasons in your life. Life changes, life happens, and that's something that's inevitable, and we all go through it. The biggest thing is always evaluating and making sure you have the right protection for your family. And the things that we have here as a company within Symmetry, within Quility U, within Summit, the resources are unlimited. Anytime we have those down moments or planned moments, our schedule is so important to stay plugged in and be sharp on things. And when I, just explain things to my clientele when I'm meeting with them, I can't tell my story without getting emotional about it. And then they know I'm being real with them, and they know that I'm not going to suggest something for them that I wouldn't suggest for myself.
So when I interviewed and I asked, I wanted to bring different team members onto this, and I asked each one of them to talk a little bit about conviction and what that meant. For you, it's not only conviction for the system, it's conviction in the products we sell, and conviction in the idea of what we're doing here, and for your family too, correct?
Absolutely. And what I kind of don't necessarily tell people a lot is, for most of my adult life, I was a single dad. And for the last thing I ever wanted to think about was what would happen to my kid if something happened to me. And now here I am willingly asking people, hey, if something happens tomorrow, what's your plan?
So when you're working with clients, the heart comes out, the emotion comes out. So when I started talking about this, I'm talking about, emotion is what triggers everybody. It's what triggered somebody to make to mail in the form. Emotion is what triggered somebody to call in and ask for a quote, or emotion is what establishes that desire, the need to help to fix families. For you, you are you're the story. I mean, you're presenting that story into them. So if you were to talk to, and you have new recruits that you're bringing in, the people that you're talking to, Talk about that conviction and what you want to see out of them when they're able to sit down and work with families and protect families. What does that look like?
A lot of it is asking them their story, asking them their why. What is it that they want? Why do they want to make an impact? Because at the end of the day, everything that we discuss has the opportunity to not only create generational wealth for those that inherit it, but just protect families in the midst of the biggest unplanned tragedies. You can be the biggest blessing phone call that they get. And so, a lot of the guys that I'm going to talk to, that I have been talking to about, why do you want to do this? What makes you so passionate enough? Because this job is not easy. It's a numbers game. We all do things we don't want to do. The second we get good at something, we're learning the next step in the process. We're business owners. Nobody is here pushing us to make us do the things that help us get successful in this business. It is right there in front of us. But if we don't have the desire and we don't have the motivation, nobody's going to make us do it. This is not an hourly job.
That's absolutely it. So the conviction for you is it I can feel so much heart and so much love and care and everything there, and it's going to translate into so much for you and your family, and passion, that passion, putting it into your agents. Lynn, would you join us back in for just a second? Talk about when you're working on both of this, when you're working in the home. Lynn, do you have a secret for how you connect, really establish that connection? I mean, you've got some personal things you bring into this, and you're working with your clients. Are you a big storyteller? Is there a lot that you do to connect with your clients when you're sitting in the home with them?
So there is a lot I do to connect with the clients, not so much tell a story like Kenny's. I don't have that story, but what I do is my whole being is, I'm 62 years old, and I don't want to see people in my age group and older get taken advantage of and find themselves in bad situations. And so my whole reason for doing this is 80% of Americans do not have the appropriate coverage. And then a huge percentage of those people that do have some coverage don't even know what it's for, and it may or may not be appropriate for them. So the thing I do is really just care about making sure people are protected and they have what they need and they know what they have.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. So, and I really appreciate both of you, coming forth and talking about this, because all three of us are acting on our convictions, and it's way deeper. Everybody knows the difference, because when you say this, when you act as a base feeling, a base desire to see something, nobody can turn you from that. That's something that is you are functioning at a level that there's nothing, nobody's going to tell you anything that's going to change your mind. Nobody's going to convince you otherwise. And so when you sit with them in that pure conviction, you feel it. I mean, Kenny, you feel it when you're talking to the clients, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. And so, my origin for this is, and one of the reasons that I'm in this business is because I've had a couple of situations where we had people that passed. And in one situation, there was life insurance. And in the other situation, there was not. In one situation, we had choices. In the other situation, we didn't have any choices. In one situation, we were able to get through that period of someone passing that was so traumatic and so so much upheaval. And then in the next one, there was a little bit of anger, a little bit of upset. We were upset. You shouldn't be mad at somebody that you really truly love and who changed your life, and you loved them to the core, but now you're upset with them because they put you in a situation where thousands of dollars are coming out. You're trying to figure out. Everybody hates to equate it to money, but it really does. It comes down to how do you pay for a casket? How do you pay to open a grave? How do you pay for a headstone? And I think those conversations are real. And we've heard over and over again that you've got to be honest and have those open conversations with people and express your heart to them, and have an honest conversation, and say, when you're sitting in a home with people, have that conversation, be honest with them. What's the plan for this? What's the plan for that? Who's going to take care of this? Where's the money for that? Because it gets to be real. And for me, and especially for me and Kenny both, it's real. We're really connected to this. This is something that we're passionate about. So when I'm telling this crowd, when I'm telling everybody on here, act with conviction, I really mean when you're sitting in front of your clients, when you're making your phone calls. I just had a phone call with a lady just this Saturday, and she said, "Oh, this is just garbage. This is this, that, and the other." And I couldn't help but get overwhelmed. I just had a 52-year-old gentleman. Oh my gosh, he and I had such a fun and fantastic conversation. I wrote him a policy in August of last year, 52 years old. Wrote him a policy, and it just happened that he needed enough to put him with an NLG policy. He got approved overnight, which says something. And he died a month later of COVID, literally the next month of COVID. And oh my gosh, and she said, "I'm 53 years old. I'm perfectly healthy. I don't need life insurance." I said, "Oh my gosh, ma'am, I just wrote a policy for a gentleman in August who's 52 years old, perfectly healthy, got approved overnight and died a month later." I said, why in the world would you think that the world, things are not going to happen? And I didn't mean to be accusatory. It just hit me so rawly because I'm working with the widow to make sure everything gets through and paid out and she's taken care of. And so, it came through on the phone call, and now we had a conversation. We had an educated conversation after that. I've got an appointment with her on Friday night. I don't know that I'll do anything. I don't know that I'll help her, but she was going to hang up the phone on me because she said this was not something she needed or something she wanted because she's perfectly healthy. And I'm like, it's just not true. And for me, I pushed that conviction right through the phone and put it into her hands. And she's like, she relented. At the end, we had a great conversation. She's like, "You know what?" And it turns out she's an oncologist. She's a nurse in an oncology ward. So she knows better than anybody that these things happen. And it just blew my mind. So I'm going to have a conversation with her. But if I had not had that moment of conviction, if I had not had that moment of, you really do need this, I might not have an opportunity to protect her and her family. So Kenny and Lynn, both, I can't thank you enough for sitting on the call and giving up. Leave any final word, Lynn, that you want to leave before we head off for the afternoon.
I was just going to say, it is so true, and that people just sometimes don't realize how great this is. One of my best friends walked into the doctor fine and walked out with stage 4 cancer. It's just, you don't know where this stuff's coming from, and then you just have to. We have to tell people about it and let them make a decision. Let them make informed decisions.
Absolutely, 100%. Kenny, talk about this convictions, leading with convictions.
Yeah, I would say another huge thing for me is the team that we surround ourselves with. And that's one thing that I love about Eric's leadership with our organization and his agency is, we have everybody's in different stages of this career path, and we are all so transparent with each other, not only with the success stories, but also with our frustrating moments. I have a lot of guys that we call and leave each other voicemails and practice our phone script and things like that, because iron sharpens iron. And that's one thing that I love about the transparency and all the training access that we have access to, is that it's here. The only, like Lynn said earlier, the only way you fail is to not do it. We are here, the resources are here, and surround yourself with those and find your running buddy and keep everybody moving.
Amen on that one, brother. Amen on that one. So, and thank you both for being on the call. And I want to finish up this way. This is how I want to finish up. Omar Diaz did an absolutely fantastic layout of how you close a deal and how you sit with a family and take care of them. So many of these Monday calls are about how you do the business. I just don't want anybody to forget why we do the business, how we focus on protecting the families, and the part you play in providing that essential part, that connection between what is the transaction and what is the actual outcome of that transaction. I tell people every week, you affect the lives of people you will never, ever meet. You're going to affect the lives of grandchildren who are going to get to go to college because you wrote a policy for grandma or grandpa, or you wrote a policy on mom and dad, or you gave somebody the ability to be able to have a choice in where they live or how they live or things like that. And you're never going to meet these people. that conviction in your heart when you're making phone calls, that's the courage to push through that one more phone call when somebody has hung up on you or says they're not interested. That's the courage to push through in your appointment when you're sitting with them and you convey to them, no, really, honestly, I think this is the best plan. I think this is the best way we can go. And then it's the next step is how you push through and connect with them, and then connect with your team. Because if your heart is pure going into this and you are focused on your clients, that acting on conviction will come through every single time. So my challenge for everybody listening in, and thanks for those who've hung in to the end of this, go out and act with conviction today. Be convicted in what you're doing. The business, the company they operate in heart and conviction. When you're in the home, you need to operate in heart and conviction. When you're talking to people on the phone, act with that. Put your clients up, best interest at heart. Put your agents that are in your team, make sure that they feel your heart and your commitment to this, and act with conviction, because that's what we're all doing today. We're all providing our heart and our service into these people, and act with conviction today. That's what I'm gonna leave you with. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, and go out there and make it happen, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.